It is necessary, before we dissect the artifact known as Neil Marshall's 2019 Hellboy, to acknowledge the shadow from which it strains to escape. This is not a continuation. This is not a gentle passing of the torch. This is a violent, arterial spray of a reboot, a cinematic declaration of independence that mistakes sheer volume for thematic weight. Where Guillermo del Toro's preceding masterpieces were dark fairy tales steeped in melancholic beauty and operatic romance, Marshall's endeavor is a guttural scream from a punk rock garage band, insistent on its own R-rated authenticity. It is a film that wears its influences not just on its sleeve, but smeared across its face like war paint, a cocktail of viscera, heavy metal, and mythological anarchy, desperately seeking the blessing of its comic book progenitor, Mike Mignola. The film announces its intentions immediately, plunging the audience into a monochrome prologue set in 517 AD. This is not the sanitized chivalry of Hollywood legend. This is a muddy, brutal dark age. Here, King Arthur himself, yes, that King Arthur, confronts Vivian Nimue, the Blood Queen, an ancient sorceress who has unleashed a plague upon the land. Arthur, wielding the legendary Excalibur, does not merely defeat her. In a moment of grim necessity, he dismembers her, scattering her conscious, immortal body parts across the breadth of Britain, locking them in consecrated boxes to ensure she may never rise again. It is a promise of gore, a thesis statement written in blood, setting a tone of relentless, almost juvenile brutality that the film will seldom abandon. We are then thrust into the present, finding our new Hellboy, not in the polished halls of the BPRD, but in the grime of a Tijuana wrestling ring. He is here to retrieve a missing agent, only to find the man transformed into a vampiric luchador. The ensuing fight is chaotic, messy, and ends with our hero being shot in the arm by the very man he was sent to save. This is Harbour's Hellboy, less of Ron Perlman's world-weary cigar-chomping detective and more of a perpetually adolescent brawler, a son struggling under the oppressive, patrician gaze of his adoptive father, Professor Trevor Bruttenholm. McShane's Broom is not the gentle, ailing father of John Hurt. He is a pragmatic, cold-blooded operator, dispensing exposition and tough love in equal measure. The narrative spine forms when Hellboy is dispatched to England, ostensibly to assist the Osiris Club, an ancient monster-hunting secret society, in dispatching a trio of giants. This entire sequence is the film's centerpiece, a showcase for its R-rated ambitions. The giants are grotesque, lumbering things, and the battle is a symphony of crude, spectacular violence. Eyes are gouged, bodies are torn asunder, and Hellboy himself is nearly beaten to a pulp. The sequence culminates not in triumph, but in betrayal. The Osiris Club, led by the cryptic Lord Glarin, reveals their true intent. They fear the prophecy that Hellboy, Anangun Rama, is the harbinger of the apocalypse, and they intend to execute him. He is saved only by the intervention of Alice Monaghan, a young medium he once saved as a baby, who can channel the dead with volatile, spectral force. This betrayal propels the plot forward, splintering it into several frantic threads. We are introduced to the film's true antagonist, or at least its most pathetic one, Grigori. This is not a CGI behemoth but a practical effect marvel, a boar-like fairy creature who harbors a deep, personal hatred for Hellboy, blaming him for the loss of his original form and the decline of the magical world. It is Grigori, manipulated by the skeletal witch Baba Yaga, who is systematically hunting down the dismembered pieces of Nimue. His quest is one of pure spite, and he succeeds, reassembling the Blood Queen in a gory ritual. Simultaneously, Hellboy is forced into an uneasy alliance with Ben Daimyo, a tight-lipped, scarred BPRD soldier who harbors his own dark secret, the ability to transform into a supernatural jaguar. The trio of Hellboy, Alice, and Daimyo forms the film's dysfunctional heart, a team of outcasts bound by circumstance rather than genuine camaraderie. As Nimue rises to power, the film accelerates into a frenzy of mythological exposition. Milla Jovovich plays the queen not as a cackling villain, but with a cold, ethereal detachment, genuinely believing her quest to unite humanity and the monster world is a righteous one. She unleashes horrors upon London, a biblical plague of monsters erupting from the ground, tearing civilians apart in scenes of unrestrained carnage. Her primary goal, however, is not just destruction, it is seduction. She sees Hellboy as her destined king, the one who can unite the old world with the new. This temptation forces Hellboy to confront his origin. In the film's most audacious and lore-heavy diversion, he is pulled into a separate dimension to meet the wizard Merlin, who has been waiting in his crystal tomb since Nimue betrayed him centuries ago. Merlin reveals the film's most staggering plot point. Hellboy's human mother was a descendant of King Arthur, making Hellboy himself the last living heir to the throne of England and the only one who can wield Excalibur. The sword, which he pulls from the stone skeleton of Arthur, is presented as his true destiny. This revelation sets the stage for the climax, a chaotic, city-wide battle in St. Paul's Cathedral. As Daimyo confronts his own jaguar nature and Alice summons the spirit of Professor Broom to fight from beyond the grave, Hellboy faces Nimue. She offers him the crown, and for a moment, he accepts. He grasps Excalibur, and the prophecy is fulfilled. His horns grow to their full, magnificent size, a crown of fire ignites above his head, and the very ground of London splits open, unleashing a torrent of demons from hell. He is Anung Rama, the king of the apocalypse. Yet, it is the spirit of his father, channeled through Alice, that pulls him back. Broom's spectral hand on his shoulder reminds him of his human-taught values. In a moment of defiance, Hellboy rejects his demonic birthright, decapitates Nimue, and hurls her head back into the closing portal to hell, banishing the demons and saving the world, but once again cementing his status as an outcast, too human for demons and too demonic for humans. The film concludes not with a clean victory, but with a weary sigh, as Hellboy, Alice, and Daimyo, now a trinity of freaks, walk off into the ruins, the monster hunting work far from over. It is an ending as abrasive, bloody, and tonally confused as the film itself, a narrative that chose noise over nuance and left its audience deafened.